The Chapter 457 cover hails the 5 Kage Summit as a gathering of the strongest ninjas, and the art governs and displays each Kage of their villages, some for the first time. And while they were very powerful, what if we actually swapped them out with the older Kage who were revived in the Artemis battle against the 4th Division? So what if Sasuke Uchiha attempted the invasion, but instead against every old Kage in their place in the same order? And today, I'm not alone. Had to bring my boy back. You guys love it. So today, my boy TG is here, so say what's good.
We ain't boys. What you saying all that? Nah,
Okay.
what's going on, guys? TG or Thunder God here. We're back on Virtue's channel again. You know, I'm in my chair. You know, usual spot. So we're bringing you some good stuff today.
Yeah, we're looking like Darth Vader and Palpatine out here. Anyway, do you want to lay out how like this is kind of structured? I guess.
Yeah, so the way we were kind of looking at this video is like we're kind of structuring it very similar to how the original summit went with like Sasuke fighting, you know, the 3rd Raikage, for example, in the 4th Raikage's place, and like him fighting each subsequent Kage and like with that equivalent. So for example, like when Gaara comes in, Rasa comes in, so Sasuke will be evolving in the same way. And then like, for example, when Gaara enters the fray, he'll fight Rasa. If one steps in, you know, if one's about to die. So it's kind of like similar, and we're kind of just like forcing the old Gen Kage to do what the new Gen Kage did, and just kind of exploring how like this would go. And then, you know, we could put them in order. So for example, Sasuke goes on to fight Gangetsu, you know, in the similar place to Mei, White Zetsu intervention, and you know, go so on and so on. So it's just gonna play very similarly to the original summit. And then, you know, we'll discuss how, like, some of these micro interactions will go. And then we'll also be throwing in Tobirama in Danzo's place with, like, Sasuke hunting him down. And they'll have that battle on at the bridge. So you guys could probably fill in the blanks and, like, kind of figure out what we're doing here.
Yeah. So there's Tobirama. I know some people are wanting me to talk about him for whatever reason. But anyway, that's the structure. But I guess we can kind of get started with Sasuke. And for Sasuke, we're not really going to go into much of his feats right now, as we'll kind of go into that stuff when the time comes during those actual encounters. But the one thing we really need to understand about Sasuke just initially is how he grows in power throughout the summit. So one thing to know prior to knowing how he can grow in power, we need to understand chakra, right? A lot of people think chakra is one energy source. You know, it's just the blue stuff you see in the anime, right? It's all one thing. Not really. Chakra is kind of a molding of each specific person. It can interact with DNA. If you guys watch my Hagoromo video, you guys know what, you know, those sorts of things. Anyway, chakra is more qualitative, not quantitative. Now, of course, It is very quantitative. You can possess a large quantity of chakra. However, your quality of chakra is very unique. Kushina and Madara are both said to be born with a very powerful chakra, even for their own clan. Kisame states about Samehada, about how Samehada is actually attracted to both B's quantity and quality of chakra, and he also talks about how it has the 8 tails flavor. But the most important statement of all of these is when Fukasaku, you know, the toad, while teaching Naruto about the fundamentals in chakra, he just pretty much states that they're adding nature energy to their chakra wheel, I guess if you want to say that, and it results in a much more powerful chakra, leading to henceforth a real boost in ninjutsu, genjutsu, and even taijutsu, which is pretty important. This means that when you get a more powerful chakra, your ninjutsu, genjutsu, and most importantly, taijutsu increase. They get a real boost. So that means when Sasuke is getting a more powerful chakra, he's getting faster and stronger. Okay, so how would he get a more powerful chakra? How would he get this? Well, it's actually when he gets colder. Now, for the Uchiha, we kind of get an explanation by Tobirama when he's asked to kind of explain the phenomena of the Sharingan, and he states that the Sharingan taps into the power of the person's heart, rapidly increasing his or her strength, along with the power of their hate. But then, right after that, he pretty much just states that the deeper the darkness gets, the greater the ocular powers also become, until the person can no longer be stopped. So you guys can kind of see where this is coming. So the darker this chakra and the more colder this chakra gets, the more powerful it is as well. And, you know, the first instance is Sasuke, where he's stated by Karin to surpass even the Curse Mark Stage 2, and it's like not even the same Sasuke as before. So this Sasuke is not even the same one that fought Killer Bee. That's how different it is, right? And then we get another one after the Raikage fight against Gaara, said to get even colder, you know, whatever. Then Sasuke gets a rejuvenation amp by White Zetsu in the fight against Mei, which we will give him against Gangetsu. Then during the Danzo fight, he's stated to become a whole different entity entirely when he enters the V3 Susanoo and gets the crossbow, and even Obito like acknowledges it. And then of course he gets it as well when he gets the V4 like final evolution of the Susanoo, which is one thing to know is that every time he gets a Susanoo and gets stronger, gets a new variation of the Susanoo, he's also getting colder, kind of just supporting that idea. But do you want to talk about how maybe the third Raikage compares to the fourth and how he's going to start this off in character?
Yeah, I mean, real quick, I was just gonna like add in one thing because that was like a W explanation.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want me to add any.
No,
shit
go
in
ahead.
Like yeah. I was gonna say, I actually agree like 1000% with everything you're saying. I think just saying larger chakra equals stronger is like such an oversimplification of like how like the fundamentals of chakra are and like how it doesn't even work. Like for example, like Madara has a very potent and powerful chakra. Yahashirama obviously is noted to have more than him, so there's obviously some differences and stuff like that. Like it can be kind of like you mentioned, like quantitative, but it's not always, if that makes sense. Like it's kind of like on a case by case basis. So I just agree with everything you were saying. It's like it's not as black and white as some people make. Like I've heard oversimplification that more chakra just means you're stronger, and that's just never been the case. Same thing with Naruto and Sasuke. Like it's been directly noted multiple times in the series. So you know, I just agree with all that, pretty much everything you were saying. But to kind of start off with Sasuke fighting the third Raikage, you kind of have to look at how the third compares to the fourth. The third is really weird, just due to the fact that like he doesn't really like, he's not as noted like speed wise compared to the fourth. He's like compared to him by Naruto, but he doesn't say he's as fast. He's just kind of speaking to like Raikage and the lightning cloak, generally speaking. The thing the third's more so noted about is just his durability. That's the main asset to him. And even then, like I think you could kind of argue around this, especially for this Sasuke. So comparing him to the fourth, like you could say they're relative, but the fourth is just displayed like me and Virtue agree we have him above just due to the fact that like he's able to enter higher stages of his lightning cloak and pour more chakra into the lightning cloak, which also does like amplify his reaction time, which is noted in his data book and stuff like that. So it just seems like he has a higher variant of his lightning cloak, or just like has a higher level of mastery with it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you always gotta note how the lightning cloak is based upon thresholds, right? So it's not that he just goes, oh, lightning cloak, right? No, it's not like that. It's not just a snap. He starts to implement chakra to amplify himself into this cloak, and the cloak amps up until the point where it's a V2, hair spikes up, boom, and then he can amp it up, whatever. That's why we see V1A compete in so many different realms of endeavor in this early part of the summit. That's why you see him fight Sasuke, then we see him fight Suigetsu, then we see him fight alongside Darui. It's so varied, and this is the reason why. And it's also kind of implied by a synopsis statement that he's kind of holding back or not going all out. But I think their cloaks are very similar, but the fourth is just ultimately greater. It's ultimately greater. So even if you say they're comparable base to base, that just means the fourth greater in V2, which is pretty fine here. And I don't think that's too crazy. And I mean, I know you mentioned as well, like, let's be honest. I hate to be that guy, but the third Raikage still made it a base Gyuki alone. Yeah. Every other time he had help. That's what happened. The one time he fought him, they still made he drop dead. The fourth Raikage is just above a perfect Jinchuriki Killer B. So it kind of paints a narrative that he's surpassing him with, you know, the idea of the third Raikage kind of implying when he's revived that the newer generation can surpass the previous one at that. Now, the fourth starts, you know, the fight with V1. But one thing you'll notice about the third is he actually exits his cloak a lot. And TG brought this to my attention that he could do this a lot in the Edo areas because of the fact that he's kind of holding back. And then once Kabuto takes control and he's noted to be different, he then sort of just locks in and the cloak always stays on, I guess, right? But until then, you could say in character he might start off in base. In which either way, I think Sasuke is the clear superior here, just simply due to how Sasuke is performing against the fourth Raikage, right? Just considering how they're relative, and when you notice how they're relative, no matter which way you want to put it, I think Sasuke was going to win. Now this is hard for many people, but the only way is, listen, Sasuke was gonna have Inton spikes up the Raikage's butt. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way around it. Like, he was not going to win that fight in any way. He was falling down. Gaara saved him. He didn't just save Sasuke, he saved the Raikage. So, you know, whatever. But the problem is with base third, is that he gets blitzed by, like, Tamari with, like, the casting net, who, like, this Sasuke is clearly reacting to as well when she is kind of, you know, firing off wind style attacks alongside Darui and whatnot. And of course, this is a slightly stronger Sasuke or whatever, but, you know, I think Sasuke is the clear superior. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I would say for the third is that he's not going to be performing the insane, like, body flicker feats. I'm not saying the third can't use body flicker. I'm just saying we've never seen it. It's never noted. It's pretty explicit, like, when he uses, like, teleportation ninjutsu. So he's not going to be doing, like, the same degree of, like, dodging around that the Raikage was. And even then, Sasuke's mental reactions were not that far off from the Raikage. Granted, he doesn't know where the Raikage is. So you can make a case, like, he would be able to throw up, like, an end-tone shield, for example. Let's say, you know, the Raikage is like darting around and stuff like that. He would still be able to throw that up. In which case, the third might not just do what A did and just blatantly like ram into it or something like that. But at the same time, like, it's kind of a difficult situation because then what does he really do? You know what I'm saying? So it's like he's just going to be caught in this situation where Sasuke's going to be able to use Amaterasu again. And we also do know that Sasuke can use his end tone as projectiles as well. So that, like, we see it as he actually uses flame control to make the spike. So that would aid him greatly there. I think the bigger question is that, like, the Hell Stab versus, like, 4th Raikage A's physical strength, because the 4th Raikage actually struggles to break Sasuke Susanoo. Like, he, like, chips a part of the base ribcage off, and that's it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not really, like, breaking through it like that. You know, it's very minor damage. So I think that also does present an issue where we kind of have to compare and contrast, like, the Hell Stab versus, like, you know, the Raikage's, like, Lair of Pain or anything like that, which, I mean, obviously I would have the Hell Stab over it. It's just more explicitly noted as it just scales above the third's own durability. So you could probably say it would also just scale above, like, the 4th or scale 2 on some metric. But so it's kind of like an interesting situation. What do you think about, like, the Hell Stab versus Susanoo defense? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think about it?
The thing about the Hell Stab is it's compared to the cloak. Like, the cloak is the immovable object, or, you know, and then the Hell Stab's the unstoppable force. But then they kind of just imply the Hell Stab's greater. And the reason why this is true is just because of the fact that the chakra that's being amped is more focused onto one thing rather than being distributed all throughout the entire body, right? But the thing is you'll notice on the Hell Stab, straight on the forearm, Naruto's Rasengan cracks the 3rd Raikage. Like, straight up just gets his durability. I know you brought this up and brought this to my attention. So you could say that, like, Sage Naruto, right, his base Rasengan is above the 3rd Raikage, right? And we know base to base, Chidori and Rasengan can clash, you know, and then you say that MS Sasuke is relative to Sage Mode Naruto. Most people kind of agree with that, you know, nowadays. So then you have Chidori also being able to pierce this cloak no matter what, really. And there's nothing to really say that, unfortunately, the Hell Stab, can it actually, you know, pierce the Susanoo? We don't know. And I highly doubt it. You know what I mean? I highly doubt it just based on how Naruto's able to do this. So I think either way, Sasuke's going to eventually just get through, stab him with the Chidori. He also has Enton Kagetsuchi, which is something that even was, you know, blitzing around the Raikage. Sasuke's able to turn his head, and the Enton goes up before the Raikage is even, like, made more movements. So, like, he cocks his arm back for the lateral bolt of pain, and before he even makes another movement, the Enton goes up. Like, one panel it's off, one panel it's on. That's how fast the Enton activation is. So this will also become a problem if you think the 3rd Raikage has an overwhelming advantage. But you know, I think the 3rd will probably end up getting close to dying here. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think the idea is that he kind of runs into the same problem the 4th had, where he still just has to make contact with, like, a rib cage that's lit up with Kagetsuchi, and obviously the Amaterasu is going to be an issue. It's going to eventually eat through the lightning cloak. So he kind of runs into a similar situation where, like, he kind of just is forced to set himself on fire. And that's, like, and then you're kind of in, like, a worse situation, because then, like, okay, Sasuke could even just, like, flame control the Amaterasu that's on, like, the 3rd's arm or body or anything like that. Like, so there's all these different ways you could look at it and stuff like that. So the main thing I would see is that I think, like, saying the Hell Stab could probably pierce the ribcage isn't that crazy, especially since the 4th did crack it with his taijutsu. But the 3rd's just obviously gonna have to make trades and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, no, there's not really an option to where he just doesn't get hit with the Matarasu. And this is all like presupposing that the third and fourth are the exact same speed, and that the third utilizes body flicker in a similar manner to the fourth, which again is never really noted. It seems more so that he was focused on the durability part of his lightning cloak, as opposed to just like amping, amping it like further and further with chakra. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I mean, with that, I think Rasa is going to step in, similar to Gar. We're just going to have him step in. They might not get along, so he might not step in, but we're going to say he is. And which one thing you'll kind of notice about Rasa is he's able to, like, resist the Edo Tensei more than the others, as long as Kabuto's not looking through his eyeballs and in direct control. So, like, when they're just being on autopilot, as kind of Gengetsu alludes to, they fight on their own. Rasa's able to kind of get through it more. And he has a really big mental affliction, and Rasa's like prior in this area where we're using him now, is still very stubborn in understanding values and morality and things like human life, with things such as children, where he kind of just makes Gaara this experiment, right? But once he gets into this, Edo state, and he meets Gaara and sees what he's become, the data book kind of just says he feels deep regret. So he's not going to have that here. He's going to be much more in to kill, and so you could say the one that fought Gaara was a little nerfed, but here he will try to kill Sasuke. But at best, I'm gonna be honest, Rasa kind of sucks. At best, you say that him and Gaara's sand, they don't collapse each other, but that doesn't even mean anything, because when we see them clash, it's like Rasa's like Imperial Sand, and it pretty much, all it's meant to do is just fall into the other sand. It's not meant to push it or anything like that. It's meant to fall into it and then just use the mass to weigh it down. This is
like
what he
mix in, like, which is like brings up the whole thing. Yep.
Yeah. So this is what he uses to get through Shukaku and all that stuff. And there are actually 2 times where they come down on each other, and each hold up fine. But one thing you'll notice is the data book says, the 4 data book states that the gold sand is superior to sand. Now this could imply normal sand or Gaara's gold sand. We don't really know. Or gourd sand. I don't know if I said gold. My bad. So we don't really know. So it's superior, right? But this means that even if you say it's superior, that means it's superior in every aspect except for speed, because we know it has a greater mass. So for them to even say they're equal, they're not. Then that just means that Gaara would have to have an overwhelming advantage in acceleration for the force equation to hence be equal then. So then that just means Gaara being able to intercept these levels and stuff is something faster than what Rasa could do. So, Rasa's sand isn't going to be as fast, might not be able to block the Enton as easily, which is something to note.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing when Sasuke, like, quote-unquote, fights Gaara is that he just uses, like, Enton and, like, throws some Matarasu wisps at Gaara's sand. The anime shows him using a Matarasu, but here he, like, directly notes it's Enton and stuff like that, and he's testing Gaara's defense. So, at best, you just argue the gold sand's, like, as durable. It's able to resist, like, the Enton. But, like, it's not like Rasa's offensive sand is going to just get through the Susanoo that Gaara's didn't. You know what I'm saying? It hasn't shown those AP feats to be able to do this. And even if you argue, like, he just lumps a large amount of sand, which he may not have access to, just because, like, he's in the Kage Summit Room, and it's not like, well, we don't see Rasa carry around a gourd of gold dust or anything like that. So, I mean, that could probably, like, factor into it. But if he doesn't have all that gold sand available, he might not even be able to, like, throw that many attacks. But assuming he has the same amount and does the same thing, there's nothing that really puts, like, his AP, like, that much above Gaara, to just say, like, he would bolo, like, the evolved Susanoo that was just blocking all their attacks and took, like, no external damage from that barrage.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is also a stronger Sasuke, because this is one of those main 4 amps where Sasuke gets a lot stronger.
Yeah.
It's actually right here. So this is a stronger Sasuke as well when he gets his Susanoo. And this is the more skeletal Susanoo, still trying to develop those muscles, especially on, like, the lower arms and whatnot. And he brought up a good point. Where does Rasa's sand come from? One thing that's weird is him and Gaara pull out their sand in the same manner and how it flows around the shoulder. So does he just have gold and then he just picks up normal sand, or where does he carry it? I don't know. That's kind of a weird thing.
It's like weird because, like, he probably like, it's made so he, like, can utilize probably the sand in the ground, probably similar to Gaara, and just, like, deal with Chikaku's attacks. But he probably does have to carry it somewhat. We just don't see it, even when, like, Orochimaru takes him out. Like, he doesn't have a gourd or anything on him. So maybe he makes it manually, but it's a little weird. It's kind of interesting to think about. But yeah, continue what you were saying.
I was just going to say, one thing you could say is the data book, does imply that Rasa sort of tried to take a much more research and understanding route when it came to power, especially towards his Hokage area. He didn't try to gain strength because you also gotta know they're in a like demilitarization area right now, and that's why Raikage got so much flack during the summit, is because he was still arming everything, and that's why Tsuchikage Oniki was getting mad and whatnot. So they're probably in a de-armament, meaning that Rasa might not even carry one, and when he gets revived, he's revived at that point. So that means whenever he was fighting and he was more, combative, he might have had like a gourd or something. Either way, we're still gonna give him his gold sand. This is a bit of a rant. But I'm gonna be honest. The encounter he gets with Gaara and now Rasa just isn't that big. It really isn't that large. So there's nothing to really say that Rasa can just put him down in the time frame that Gaara was given. So we think that, Sasuke will clear through this round, which I think is pretty fair. Now, next up, we do have Gangetsu. Now, this is where he gets to the room, and he's going into this very fatigued. If you guys do remember, when Sasuke gets into that room, this is another thing to note, power related to chakra, is when Sasuke literally falls to his knees, and Karin notes his chakra is getting weaker. So this is when he's getting very low on stamina, even though he's got those amps. And then White Zetsu appears, takes all the Kage's chakra, or some of it, gives it to Sasuke, and he's all good to go, right? So, the start of this, Gangetsu might be hot-headed, and he might go into it, but I will say, this kind of does depend where you put the Raikage at, because Gangetsu is much more of a tier closer to the Raikage than Mei was to the 4th, right? So Gangetsu is much more comparable to the 3rd, especially in V1 as well. They jump at the same time, they react at the same time, they combo the division at the same time. Gangetsu also does arguably the best against the Alliance. He had the whole division mind-boggled. Like, in the anime, they literally just start, like, crying. They're like, what do we do? And he's like, I've told you guys, this isn't me. Quit throwing your attacks. He's kind of messing around with them until he decides, he's like, I'm going to go all out. If y'all can't beat me at full power, y'all suck. So, Sasuke easily reacted to things like lava style, even though how drained he was. But here, Gangetsu is kind of crazy. He is in a really bad area at, like, first glance. But if you really think about it and how the Kage Summit is structured, maybe not, because Gangetsu can do a few things. He can kind of hide the clams somewhere else to keep the Genjutsu active, so keep it in a room other than the meeting room, or hide his real body somewhere else other than the meeting room, and then just have the clone fly around. So, I'm going to be honest. What do we think Sasuke can do? What do you think Sasuke could do if this clone is just flying around?
Yeah, the thing is, like, he has the whole mirage and things like that. So maybe one of the things you could argue is like the Sharingan may allow him to actually see through the Genjutsu. If you want to use like kind of sees like lightning pillar, like light based Genjutsu with Gengetsu's, using like the water particles to reflect the light and deceive the enemy. I think that could be something. If you want to argue, like, he might be able to do something about that. He could also have Karin potentially sense out the clam. So he does have options. It's just kind of like, so the way I brought this up, right? I've talked about Gangetsu before. I know you have too, like we both have. But like what he probably does is that he probably uses the steam imp with the clam. So like you see a mirage of the steam imp, which just makes it so like everybody's kind of cooked. Because at that point, like, what do? You know what I'm saying? You're seeing a mirage of something that's going to run at you and be an explosion. So, unless you argue, like, Sasuke, like, instantly bolos the Genjutsu, which, maybe you could argue that. Low-key, like, Steam Imp kind of goes crazy because you're going to be having these large-scale explosions set up in such a crazy room. And the Steam Imps are fast. They're just blatantly, like, weaving around Gaara sand. A stronger Gaara, by the way, in that part, Rasa. So, it's like, it's gonna be kind of a bad situation, honestly speaking. Yeah. I mean, like Gaara is able to intercept the Raikage's attacks, and I mean, this is a downward attack. All of Raikage's downward attacks are pretty slow. They're more strength focused, but he's able to intercept them, so he's able to like perceive, and his sand's able to get near them and stuff. It's not being like lacking behind by like any exponential value, right? So, but Gangetsu is just weaving it. Like a stronger and faster sand at that is just being completely weaved by Gangetsu, and I mean, it's bad. You know what I mean? Like, if, let's say Gaara didn't sub out that clone, okay, whenever he goes atop the pyramid, he dies. He literally dies. Gangetsu totally blitzed the clone, and it's pretty bad. So,
Gangetsu really can be an animal here against Sasuke. My only thing is I just don't know how it interacts with the Susanoo, or if Gangetsu is going to be able to get through the Susanoo quick enough before Sasuke gets exited to a different room whenever Mu comes in and just tries to kill him like Oniki did. And then, you know, obviously Obito just takes him out and puts him against Tobirama, right? So
yeah, I mean the main thing I would argue, like, my bad, I'll just say this, like, the main thing I would argue is that, like, just Sasuke maintaining the Susanoo is probably going to just fatigue him, as he knows, like, even having it active was, like, hurting him on a cellular level. So the main thing in this situation you have to argue is that Steam Imps just force Sasuke to use this defense, which he probably will, as the clam's probably going to be too far away for him to even, like, go to, so he's probably going to try and run away in a similar manner. So it's like, that's all you really have to say. Like, Mei, like, breaking down the Susanoo didn't really matter because she's, like, fighting Sasuke, who was, like, about to power up and fight her with the skeletal version, which nobody brings up, by the way. Like, that was about to be horrible. And then he burned out. So she got extremely lucky that he burnt out when he did. Otherwise, she would have been in a closed hallway with the same skeletal Susanoo that just blocked all of the attacks previously seen at the summit. So the main thing is, like, Sasuke's just not really able to power up as much at this stage. And you just have to argue the Steam Imps, like, force him into that type of situation. I mean, if you want to argue, like, White Zetsu intervention, that could be something. If White Zetsu even finds out where the real Gangetsu is, it might not even be able to grab him, or if it's, like, just dealing with the Mirage. But I mean, if Sasuke has a little bit of his chakra regenerated, I think that would also be good. But then at that point, like, Mu is also just chilling in the room. Nothing really changes. Like, the clam's probably going to be too far to, like, let me put it like this: Gengetsu's not keeping the clam one room over. He's just not. There's no way to argue that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a pretty bad situation for Sasuke all around.
Yeah, no, I agree. And either way, again, Sasuke does get pulled out of this. So, you know, we're not giving Sasuke plot armor or anything like that, saying, oh, he just, you know, escapes for dying or whatever, because this is what happens, you know. So, unfortunately, Mu does come in, and I'm going to be honest, a lot of people think Gengetsu is just not comparable to Mu in any slight regard. I think that's just false. I think Gengetsu is actually very comparable. I think Gengetsu is kind of crazy.
They killed each other, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
How much more comparable can you get? You know what I mean? Like, it's just...
That's what I'm saying. Like, you're like, oh, nah, Mu's just way greater in physical stats. And it's like, you could maybe argue that, but Gengetsu's arsenal is just pretty cracked, which is saying something when you look at Mu's arsenal. Just being able to go invisible and have particle style and ridiculous sensory, it's almost just perfect. But anyway, Mu has like 9 clashes with Oniki, as you see on this panel right here. And this is just where they fly out to a different area and they just do a bunch of particle style like clashes. Enough to the point where Oniki can't even use it once, and he kind of just like drops down after he hits his fist down and, you know, whatnot. So he gets pretty fatigued from this, to be honest. So Mu really is that caliber of fighter, and you know, Mu, his alive particle style is very comparable to his Edo one, as stated by Oniki. So we think Mu, he could really do something, but again, it's almost just the idea that Obito is going to pull him out. Now, I want to say, if he doesn't pull him out, against Gengetsu and Mu, he's gonna die. Yeah, he's gonna die. Okay, Gengetsu is already very good at pressure, especially if he's really trying to go all out when he has the clone flying around, and it's very bad. Now, Sasuke does have the Sharingan, which will allow him to see things like the clam and other things that's chakra is being allocated to, so that'll be really helpful, to be honest. But other than that, I mean, Gengetsu probably would just overwhelm him, especially with how fatigued he is at this point. So then when you add Mu, and Mu's like, all right, you know, he's going to be the same thing Oniki did. He's like, well, I don't have any quarrels with you, but a lot of people here want you dead, so you're going to die. You know, if he does the same thing, Sasuke's cooked. So if you guys want to say Sasuke ends the summit here, he gets cooked by Gengetsu, and probably Mu when Mu comes in. So, you know... he can get cooked here, but we're just going to say Obito brought him out, and he's going to carry him away and give his big speech or whatever, and then take him to go hunt down Tobirama. And Tobirama versus Sasuke. Now, listen, now I've got a reputation for downplaying Tobirama. Okay, now I don't downplay Tobirama. I just honestly scale him.
Yeah.
So, you know, do you want to start off with Tobirama and Sasuke?
I mean, look. I'll say this because Tobirama. The fans, bro, y'all, it's hard to win with y'all sometimes. Unless I say he beat Tagoromo, y'all will not be satisfied. But I will say this here. he is threatening to like EMS Sasuke, who even while blinded and bandaged up is like stronger than like his peaked out MS counterpart. Like the peaked out version that like Susanoo evolves like twice before, like after, like during and after the Danzo fight, and then he gets stronger from there, gets a bit of practice using his eyes, potentially gets stronger from the Itachi encounter, and then Tobirama like chakra flexes and Sasuke's nervous, right? So he's already coming in like pretty strong here. And then obviously his feats in the war, he's able to keep pace with this same Sasuke and stuff like that. So, I mean, he's honestly speaking just going to be fine in this encounter. Like, you don't really have to argue. Like, you don't even have to do that much with Tobirama. Like, Edo Tensei into Tandem Paper Bomb. Nah. You just argue FTGs around. Stalls out Sasuke, Susanoo, like tires him out. There's not really too much to say here. One of the things I will say too is like some people try and base like Tobirama being at the Izuna level. And I know I brought this up to you, but if you actually look at the scene where like Tobirama kills Izuna, his sword is actually flipped in the non-lethal direction that Kaoru takes when she fights Naruto and Co. So it's like even then, like his supposed like rivalry with like a weaker version of like an MS user, you could actually argue he might have been holding back too, because he's also surprised when Izuna dies. So, I mean, if you want to try and use that, just like a 2 cents on that. But realistically, like, yeah, like Tobirama, like the reaction feats are there. Like he'll be fine just to avoid Sasuke and stuff like that. Honestly speaking, what do you gotta say? I mean, it feels pretty like self-explanatory, but shit.
No, yeah, Tobirama is a very insane ninja, just to be honest, in terms of all of his stats. And speed, he's very impressive, you know, as much as, you know, you want to say he's inferior to Minato or whatever, we can't downplay him here, you know what I mean? Now, of course, I don't think he's Madara level. You know, Madara does say that he used to boast the fastest speed of any shinobi, and you could actually critique the idea of boast and its wording here, and definitionally, and a lot of people like to take the second interpretation to Oxford, but if you take the first one, it doesn't end very well. But the second one, sure, whatever, right? If you take that, then that just means the last time Madara saw Tobirama fight, he thought he was faster than himself, which would be whenever he looked over, whenever Izuna drops dead on the floor and Tobirama just blitzes him with FTG. So, you know, even if you say Izuna and Madara are comparable, then yeah, there you go. He's probably basing that off of where he states Tobirama. This is consistent with EMS, you know, telling Hashirama that he's the only one that can face him. So,
one thing I would add too, just to like jump on this, is that EMS or Madara, when he gets the Rinnegan, he says that like Tobirama and Hashirama, like the reasons you brothers can't achieve your full strength or anything like that, like the heavens, you know, the heavens like shine on me and stuff like that. He is referencing both of them, which you could just say like he thinks, you know, alive Hashirama and alive Tobirama might just present some issues or just be like a nuisance to him as well. Which I know I see some people bring up, but he is referencing the duo. Which, I mean, is still impressive for Tobirama, but, like, isn't in solely reference to him. That's just the side point I want to add,
Yeah, and I mean, even then, saying he's relative to, like, base Hashirama or slightly below shouldn't be that inconsistent. They arrive at the same time, like at the battlefield, you know, according to the anime, I believe it goes Minato, Hiruzen, Tobirama, Hashirama. So, you know, Tobirama has that advantage there. Madara could imply that he's, you know, maybe comparable to them. And then whenever you see them against old Hiruzen as Edos and Weekend, they can combo together and stuff. So I don't think Tobirama sucks. This is pretty consistent, especially when you take the war arc where he's able to intercept EMS Sasuke, KCM 1.5 Naruto, and you know, this is, you know, he's able to completely perceive and blitz their counterattack, time it perfectly with a KCM Minato. And, of course, this is a dazed KCM Minato, so he's not at full power, but what's this mean, right? So if you look at some narrative, this time during the war arc, right, we got Naruto and Sasuke. Both want to be Hokage. Now, Sasuke's revolution hasn't fully been, verbalized yet, but it's still on the way. So these two both want to be Hokage, right? One is a more bright dunce, okay? And the other one is a more, you know, revolutionary, darker shinobi, more utilitarian, whatever it takes for this better end. Because this is the one thing to end the cycle of hatred. This is what they both think, right? So, in the way, whenever they're fighting like this, it's almost a parallel when you look at it. So, Minato is the dunce that Naruto is. Tobirama is the revolutionary, cold guy that, the cool guy that Sasuke is.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like a parallel that Tobirama is narratively higher and a higher benchmark for what EMS Sasuke, this early EMS Sasuke, in this case, KCM 1.5 Naruto, want to become. So I think that's pretty consistent. So this just, straight up means he's above MS Sasuke. MS, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, this shouldn't be that crazy. You know what I mean? This isn't insane to hear. Tobirama's still very relevant in the war. You know what I mean? He's not just getting overshadowed in that whole fight. He leads them very well. So whenever you put him against this 5 Kage Summit Sasuke, is even something like the arrow even a threat? Well, probably not. Because Tobirama, he has FTG, so all he has to do is think. Danzo could think when the arrow was coming at him. He's like, oh shit, I can't move. And he starts to push the tree, out of his right shoulder. So Tobirama could probably do a similar thing and just teleport away. And then, eventually just slice his throat or whatever. And Sasuke does get an amp here that's stated to be like entirely a different Sasuke. Like Karin sees him and she's like, is that even Sasuke? What happened? And literally it's just like Sasuke is getting so much hatred that his body is developing as a result. And this is very consistent with how Tobirama describes, the Sharingan and the phenomena of. And this is what Obito is saying. So this isn't even Karin, Sensei Ninja. This is what Obito is just analyzing. He's like, wow, it's kind of crazy. But is that even going to do anything to get around Tobirama? Probably not. The Hokage are always stated and implied by the fan books to be greater than the other Kage. So I think Tobirama is kind of just a step above here and has a lot of win conditions. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you encapsulate it. You don't really need to argue like his Susanoo busting prowess, but it's just like at the end of the day, you mentioned it off. Like as long as he's able to just keep FTGing around, he can just stall out Sasuke. That's pretty much the bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really too much, is it? The only like probably issue for him is if Obito for whatever reason does try to like enter the fray, that might present some issues, but that's not really the point, since obviously Obito didn't really pull up versus Danzo until the very end. So I mean, yeah, that's probably what I would say.
Yeah, if anything, Obito there was trying to like nurture Sasuke. Like he wants Sasuke to fight like Naruto. He's like, this is gonna be good entertainment, huh? And he wants it. But maybe if you say that Tobirama is gonna be blitzing around and killing Sasuke, probably will be. Maybe, Obito's gonna be like, hey, yo, that's my apprentice, bro. Stop. You're gonna have to go down and like help him or something like that. And I think there's a case to be made. But even then, I think this Obito is probably maybe a step above this Tobirama, or at least they're very comparable. I don't want to say he's gonna beat Tobirama, but I think they could at least escape. At least escape from Tobirama.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, Tobirama's like Karin level. So, that's the end of no, I'm kidding, guys. He's not Karin level. Not Karin level. I'm playing. Tobirama is a goat, right? But either way, you could take it as Sasuke. If the old Gen Kage replaced the current Gen Kage, I think they might actually do better. I'm gonna be honest. I think they do better.
Yeah, I think they do better, yeah.
Do. Anyway, God damn it. Okay. Anyway, I think the old Gen Kage do very well. And I think there could be a good case that Sasuke loses at Gangetsu or Mu. Either way, though, he is not making it past Tobirama. The only way he escapes is if Obito saves him. So, that's the video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you guys, again, did enjoy, please, maybe consider subscribing or liking the video, or just checking out more of my videos, as I'm sure you could find something to learn or just something to sit back and relax and listen to. Yeah. With that being said, go check out TG. He has a lot of great videos as well. Same goes for him. So, yeah, as always, love you guys.